Well, I'm Tiana Rawles-White. I live here in Northumberland, and I am pansexual.
Okay. For people who might not know what pansexual is, can you explain what that is?
The way I like to explain it is that it's more about a personality connection than a visual connection. Although I can't say that I've experienced every person there is, I like to think that I'm open to that and able to make a connection with somebody like that.
So gender doesn't matter, sex doesn't matter, it's who the
Correct.
person is?
Yeah.
Okay. And pronouns are?
She, her.
Okay. So then, talk to me about some of your background. Where did you go to school? We'll start with that.
Well, I grew up in the general area. I graduated from Shikellamy. But growing up, we kind of moved around a bit. So I went to Mifflinburg, West Melton, or, well, I guess it would have been White Deer Elementary. So yeah, I'm familiar with the surrounding area. I graduated from Shikellamy. My family is from the area, primarily Mifflinburg. Yeah, so I grew up here, born and raised.
So then, Tiana, tell me, what year did you graduate from Schick?
Oh, that's a great question. 2015.
2015. Okay.
Yeah, I always get mixed up because I went to Sun Tech and I graduated my junior year. So I graduated from there in 2014 and graduated high school in 2015.
So you're about 25?
26.
26, okay.
Yeah.
Did you go to any kind of college then?
Yeah, I actually started at the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park, New York. And I was pretty close to graduating, but unfortunately it wasn't the right fit and just mentally stressful, physically stressful. So I transferred to Penn College, same major, culinary, ended up switching majors again because the physical demand for culinary is heavy and I have some back issues. So I ended up changing my majors, which was a pretty hard thing for me to do because culinary is like, cooking's my passion.
Mm-hmm.
But I ended up graduating with my bachelor's in applied management, and I was honored to be able to be the guest or the student speaker for my graduating class.
Cool.
Yeah.
What do you do now? Where do you work?
I am a caregiver with shared support. I love it. It's pretty great. My client's pretty wonderful. He's just full of energy and personality. He doesn't talk much, but you see all of his personality burst out of him.
Okay. Now, as being pansexual, do you have a realization coming out story?
Yeah. So when I was 13, I had a crush on a girl that I went to school with, and she dressed rather masculine. And so I was like, okay, well, is it because she looks kind of like a stereotypical boy style, or is this like, it was a little bit for me to figure out. I did a little experimenting with somebody else, and I was like, yeah, I think that this is very natural for me. And I tried to come out, and I got some negative feedback. And I would like to say that, people are able to grow, and so that makes me happy. But it's always difficult to come out to your family, even if they're accepting of other people. That doesn't mean they'll be accepting of you. And I remember doing it at the dinner table. My mom's first husband, my brothers. My mom also did foster care, so I think, yeah, one of my other foster brothers were there. And I came out at the table. And I was like, okay, like she's like, I don't know if you expected something big or whatever. I was like, no, I was nervous though. And then, she's like, well, I think it's a phase. I was like, okay. My brother said, it's, oh, well, I think you're just trying to get attention. And my mama said, oh, God made Adam and Eve and not Adam and Steve. So I was like, tested the waters and I didn't like them. So I went back. And, it wasn't until...
When you say you went back, what do you mean?
I went back in the closet.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like, just kidding. No, I'm not. You're right. It was a phase. I'm not interested in women. So it was more starting out as a bisexual journey. So I went back in the closet, and it wasn't until college when I was about 19. I had a wonderful counselor. I was dating a man at the time. And I finally I was like, hey, Mom, yeah, I'm definitely bisexual or gay, something, you know, like I'm not just attracted to men. And so I think that through the counseling services that were provided, I was finally able to be okay with however anybody reacted, because it was my place to just be me unapologetically. And this once I like just came out as an adult, I think more people were accepting of it. And as well as the LGBTQIA club on campus at CIA helped me as well, because they would do panels regularly, and they were talking about, you know, the different terms, I guess. And I was like, oh, well, that kind of, they brought up pansexual. I was like, that sounds a lot more like what I'm interested in than bisexual. So then it's funny though, because like I would talk to my sister about these things, and she's like, oh yeah, I just tell people I'm bisexual. I was like, why? She's like, because people don't get it. I was like, I know that's really frustrating, but how are people going to learn unless if we explain what it is? It's easy to say one thing, but you know, if we're going to spread education, let's take the moment to explain what being pans actually means. But yeah, that's kind of my coming out story.
How old were you when you sat down at the dinner table with your family? I
was 13.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the same age that you started having a crush on the girl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said, was it your grandmother that you said Mima or?
My mama.
Mama.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure that's your grandmother, right?
Yeah,
okay.
My mom's mom. Yeah. Okay. She, it definitely hurt to hear her say that. Mm-hmm. Was not the support I was looking for. But I think that, over time, over conversations, heart-to-hearts, she became more accepting. Because it's interesting to see somebody who seems accepting of the community and has gay friends, but doesn't understand the pride that comes behind it and celebrating it. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. And it's like, well, think about it. Like, you know, women didn't have rights. We celebrated that when we started having rights. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Black people. You know, like if we did not get the basic rights as everybody else, and we finally received them, why would we not celebrate it? So it's through those small conversations. I guess you can call them small, but they leave a huge impact. But I always did feel the love from her, as well as my mom. I think it was just shocking to them for me to say something at such a young age. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, then my mama, she actually passed in October, and towards the end, we really started talking more deeply, and I know she loved me, and she was accepting of myself and my beliefs.
She came to that point of acceptance.
Yeah. I think that she was rather accepting for a while, mm-hmm. but I think that, you know, through conversation towards closer to her death, that things were kind of lifted.
How important was that did you feel like you had that, I don't know if closure is the right word, but did you have that feeling knowing before she passed or before those conversations? I don't want to say I didn't need closure, okay, because it was nice to have conversation, but I think that I got to the point in my life where I just didn't care. Mm-hmm. I used to care a lot about what other people thought, whether that be my sexual orientation or my views, my religious beliefs, what have you. I got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I shouldn't have to apologize for just being me, and I shouldn't have to be scared to be me. So I'm not going to pretend anymore, and I'm just going to let it, as my mom would say, let it roll off like water off a duck's behind. So that's what I started to do. There was a lot of water, but it happened. So did you mentioned that you immediately went back in the closet, right? Mm-hmm. So at what point then was it when you went to college that you decided that, all right, I guess I got to be what I got to be?
Yeah, okay. It definitely helped me flourish there. Plus, it was a very diverse campus, racially as well as sexually. I bloomed a lot while I was there. Really kind of dove deep into finding myself.
What was it like going to high school then, knowing this about yourself, but not feeling like you could express it?
I was on a rather damaging path when I was in high school. I have a history of sexual abuse, and I feel like not being able to be myself, I reverted to being intimate with the wrong type of people, primarily men, well, not primarily, all men. And the experiences weren't always good. And I think that's because of the combination of where my mental health was with trying to work through these traumas. And then on top of that, working through my own sexuality and not feeling comfortable enough to work through my sexuality. So I think that there's a lot of people who don't understand one's sexual journey and what is included in that. Yeah. But it was definitely difficult for me, considering I was working through other things on top of my own sexuality.
So then if you dated primarily men up until high school, I'm assuming you didn't get much discrimination in the sense of sexual orientation discrimination.
I would say that. Okay. I think that within my relationships, there was always be some misunderstanding. Okay. Like in the sense, yeah, I'm dating a man, but I'm still, at the time I was saying I was bisexual. I'm still bisexual. I was like, I don't get that. How are you still interested in women if you're dating a man? It's like, well, if a heterosexual couple is together, are they still not attracted to a man and a woman or a woman and a man? Like, like I don't understand the concept there. But it definitely caused, I don't want to say that my sexuality caused friction within a relationship. I want to say that the misunderstanding about my sexuality caused friction in my relationship.
Did you see discrimination then with other people, knowing that you were the same, this is me, and this is what they say about other people? How did you deal with that, or how did you think about that?
Well, first, I think I have a privilege. Being a woman, I think that people are slightly more accepting of a woman's sexuality than they are biological males or a trans man's sexuality. So I think that I have a responsibility to speak up when an issue arises. I remember specifically going to Cell Block in Williamsport, and I had a friend who is gay. We went to Mifflinburg together, and we were having a great time. Actually, I think it was my friend's birthday. And he just tapped on this guy's shoulder to tell him that he loved his tattoos. And this man reacted with so much aggression. He's like, "Don't touch me." I was like, "Hey," I look over like, whoa, why are you freaking out? He's like, "He's trying to touch me." I was like, "He's just trying to tell you that he likes your tattoos." He's like, "I'm not gay." I was like, "Nobody said you were, man. You need to calm down." It's like, at first, I thought you were attractive. I was ready to, shoot my shot. And I was like, "You are an ugly person." I was like, to react like that to somebody who's just trying to give you a compliment because you're insecure about your own manhood, like, that's not okay, dude. Like, so I definitely have seen it, and it definitely makes my blood boil a little bit. It also depends on the situation. I can tend to be calm, but I definitely have some more sternness in my voice when it happens. But there is a sense of disgust seeing it happen, because it's like, we just want to be treated like people. Everybody should just be able to live their life without judgment or anger towards them. And yeah, I guess I also feel sadness a little bit, because for someone to carry that much hate in their heart, they had to go through something. They have to be mad about something other than the community that they don't understand. I've always been raised that, if a bully's bullying you, there's something going on at home. Somebody's bullying them.
How about your peers? Peers or fellow students? Did you face any sort of pushback from them with your sexuality? Or friends?
Not really. Okay. All of my friends are either a part of the community or or they're just really chill with us. when I did come, my friends were like, yeah, we know. I was like, what do you mean you know? Like, we already knew. We thought this was common knowledge. I was like, oh, well, okay, cool. This is great. It was very accepting, and it was really nice to have, you know, those open arms. I was also really nervous about my family on my father's side. So my mom is white, my dad is black, and the stereotype with the black community being less tolerant with the LGBTQIA community had me really amped up and really, really scared. And my grandfather was a reverend. So it was like there was a lot of pressure, but surprisingly, I was very surprised at the acceptance I received from them as opposed to my mom's side. Because I did come out to my dad when I was 13. He's like, okay, cool, whatever. Like, whatever floats your boat, you know? Like, and then once I, you know, came back out when I was an adult, I guess you'd call me a baby adult. And I told the rest of my dad's side. They're like, okay, cool. They're like, we're all a little gay. I was like, dope. All right, cool. So,
and this was the side, your grandfather was the reverend?
Yeah.
Your dad's dad?
My dad's dad, okay. Yeah. So it was pretty cool.
Was that wasn't what you were expecting to hear then?
Not at all.
From your dad's dad?
Well, my dad, yeah, chill. But my dad's dad, I was really nervous because, you know, I had that reaction with my mammal and she's religious, obviously. And so to take it one step farther to a reverend, I was like, yeah, I was not excited to say that. But, yeah, he's just like, okay, God bless you. I'm like, all right, thanks.
Did your parents grow up in this area too?
My mom did. She's from Northumberland, graduated from Lewisburg though. And my dad went to Bucknell, and that's actually how they met. Okay. Yeah, and I have a sister. His daughter. Also, well, I don't want to say his daughter. It makes it sound like I'm keeping her separate from myself. But my sister, his daughter from his first marriage, now goes to Bucknell as well. So we have a little family thing going on at Bucknell.
Okay. So then, I think I've seen you at some of the demonstrations and protests and whatnot. How do you involve yourself with those type of things?
Well, I was primarily going through Facebook. Whatever pops up, and if I can make it, I want to go. I haven't seen much lately, so it's been difficult to keep up. But that was my primary source. Yeah.
Was it Pride events as well as Black Lives Matter events?
Yes. Okay. Primarily, if not us, then who, and the I Am Alliance.
Okay. With Vicky Matthews. Okay.
Yeah.
So you also you involve yourself with sort of that social justice scene. How important is that to you?
It's really important to me. Like I said, we're not going to change anything through yelling at people. We need to be able to sit down and have a conversation, which can be really hard. I like to try to engage my friends and my family, which my mom had attended some. My best friend had attended some. So I think that through conversation, which I remember the one we did, If Not Us, Then Who, in the I Am Alliance, the combo that they did in Mifflinburg. I remember there was somebody there who was also handing out pamphlets, but they were more religious pamphlets. And I was like, well, let's talk. Someone came and got me. I was one of the team leaders. And so we just talked. And like, oh, well, what about, you know, these people claiming to be good and they're rioting and da-da-da. I was like, well, you're taking a small amount of people and pushing them in with a whole group of people that are trying to do something that's completely different. It's kind of like looking at it as, you know, Christian terrorists and bundling up with the rest of the Christians or Muslims and, you know, that type of thing. And I was able to get through to him with those type of comparisons. But it was a really good conversation because sometimes conversations could just go in circles and like you're not going to go anywhere. It's like, okay, buddy, you said what you said. I said what I said. I hope that we can take something away from each other, but I think this is where the conversation needs to end. But that conversation specifically, I remember it being really good and us hearing each other. And he's like, okay, I think I have a little bit of a better understanding of what you guys are about.
That's a surprising story to hear about that Mifflinburg one.
Yeah, because there was I
saw a lot of videos from that.
Yeah.
It was wild.
It was. There was, trucks going by, blowing smoke. Yeah, so it felt good after seeing so much negative that there was at least one person that heard me and I heard them. So it felt good.
Mm-hmm. Are you still, were you involved with the theater scene with Seth and Megan?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you still?
I'm actually auditioning for Shrek.
Okay.
I want to be Donkey so bad.
Oh my god.
so bad. So that's my shot.
Are they doing that up in Williamsport?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. When's the last time that you were part of the theater?
Chicago. I was Mama. When was that? That was last spring.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you still do regular? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I try to keep up. That's kind of my other thing is finding the spaces. Because for some reason, like, we go to the protest, we find people who are similar to us, but then outside of that, it's like, where do I go to find people like me? Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, we have some gay bars, but I feel like it's primarily those who present themselves as male and gay. So it's like, I would like to find more women, and I find that to be a little difficult. So also going into the theater world, I feel that, that's more of a space, a creative space where I might find people who are more like me, more women who are like me. Funny side note, I usually don't do the summer shows because it goes into the Renaissance Fair season, and that's my happy place. And I have found that to be a core bubble spot for the people that I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. And it's a free space for everybody to just be themselves, to feel safe. I have never felt unsafe there, sexually or racially. Mm-hmm. And it's just a really accepting space. And I was like, man, that'd be great if I could feel that way at home as well. Something that's closer to home, at least. But yeah.
Are you dating anybody now?
No. Okay. I just got out of a heterosexual relationship. And now I'm single and mingling, and I'm just enjoying myself. It's always been a little tricky for me to stay single. So it's kind of a goal of mine, as well as to kind of set men on the back burner, which is also difficult for me because that's more of a familiar person. And it can be a little scary to explore more of what you're looking for. But I'm also really excited.
Okay. So what is it like being pansexual and also a woman of color in this area, in this valley?
It's a good question. I think that with primarily interactions with men, there is a stigma or a stereotype with black women, or a fetish, if you will, with black women and gay black women, So I have found that some inappropriate interactions and me having to set that boundary, like, hey man, you're not going to come to me because I'm a fetish to you. I'm a lot more than that. I'm not here for your experiment. Which I realized I said that earlier, and that was not the word I wanted to use, but I think it's a common word that we use because of society using it, like, oh, you're just experimenting. Mm-hmm. But, yeah. So I found that difficult, but the interactions I have had with women have always been really accepting and like, okay, so what are you interested in? And like talking through it. But yeah. Yeah. I would definitely say that I've experienced more racism than I have regarding to my sexual orientation. I think a lot of that has to do with just how I look, because because you can't always tell, you know. I kind of joke in saying my gaydar is very much broken. I can never figure out, you know, who I'm vibing with unless if I ask questions, which is not always a comfortable thing to do. So I think that primarily that's why I've experienced more racial issues than I have homophobic issues.
Yeah, I guess
personally,
it's sort of easier to hide who you're attracted to versus, you know, it's out there. You know what I mean? The skin. Have you ever been, I guess, nervous or afraid to be out in public with like someone that you're dating, like a woman? Like, have you ever been nervous to be on a date with a woman, or to be like holding hands walking down the street or anything like that?
Maybe a little bit. I haven't had much experience with dating women yet. I did go on one date many years ago, and it was a great date. I was also very nervous, but there wasn't much physical interaction. I am having a date next Friday. I'm very excited and nervous about. So I think it will be more of, I don't want to say my first adult woman-to-woman date, but that's kind of what it feels like. So I'm definitely a little nervous, but I think I'm more excited than nervous. Because, like I said, I'm also at that mindset where I'm just kind of like, chuck it in the F it bucket. I don't care. You know, I'm just living my life, and I don't have time for ignorant people. If you want to yell something at me, but I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. If you want to talk, we can talk. But other than that, I'm going to keep enjoying myself.
And that's sort of what the last question I was going to ask you is, what would you say to somebody who doesn't quite understand the LGBTQ plus community?
I would say be patient. You have a lot of questions that you would like answered, and it's okay to have questions, and it's okay to be curious. Do your own research, because like I said, it's great to ask questions, but it's also good to do your own research to show that interest that you really want to know, rather than relying on your LGBTQI friends. So, definitely the big ones are ask questions, be patient, try to have an open mind, and be calm. Don't let your confusion or your misunderstanding turn into anger, because there's no reason to be angry over how somebody's living their life that does not affect you.